Hey guys, it's Doug Lazy from Now 100.5. Welcome to another Now Playing in Your PJs. This time we're talking to the guy. His album Small Town Boy. The song is Arcade. It's all over now. Everybody say hi to Duncan. How are you, Duncan?
I'm good. How are you, Doug?
So good, man. Have you been to Sacramento before?
I haven't. I've only been to LA itself. So I cannot wait for this world to reopen because I need to go. I really need to go.
Yeah, we need to get you here in Sacramento. Duncan Laurence singing Arcade right here in Sacramento. Like, we need that in our lives, man.
I would love that, actually. Let's make that happen when the states are open again. Let's do it.
We're getting there slowly but surely. So for people who aren't familiar with you yet, who would you tell them that Duncan Laurence is?
Duncan Laurence is a small town boy from the Netherlands who loves to make music. I think he sold his heart to music. I just love it. I love it. And I only I express myself way better in music than in talking. So guys, don't bother this, what I'm saying in this interview. Just go and download and stream and whatever that album, because that's where you get the real Duncan.
You're a brilliant musician, man. What artists do people compare you to? When people say, "Oh, Duncan, he sounds like."
I heard this one time someone said he is the combination of Troye Sivan and Louis Capaldi, and I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
I was like, phew, that's two of my favorite artists. So if I'm there right in the middle, means I'm doing something right.
Heck yeah, man. So like you said, you grew up in the Netherlands. When was your first trip to the States? And honestly, what did you think when you first came to the States? You can be honest with this.
Okay, it was in 2019 in July. It was quite a hectic period because it was right after I won this big show, Eurovision with Arcade, and right before my European headlining tour. So it was kind of a rough period, and I wanted to meet my new team at Capitol Records in Los Angeles. And the first time I went there, I was, to be honest, overwhelmed, tired, maybe also a little bit like, whoa, the people here are so friendly and so nice in a weird other way. I couldn't really place it, because here in the Netherlands, everyone's like sober and they don't really ask you how you are. It's all like, hi, okay, thank you, next. Hi. And there it was like, even when you're at the supermarket, it was like, hey, how are you? Okay, thanks. Have a great day. And it was just so much enthusiasm in your language, in your ways, in everything. So I kind of felt a little overwhelmed. So I kind of turned into this introvert version of me. And I was like, okay, I don't think I can get used to this. And then the second time I went, oh yes, I could get used to this. I was like, yeah, I like this vibe. I love it. And now I'm even at this point where I think my Dutch friends even call me more American than Dutch.
That's awesome. That happened in less than 2 years, huh?
Yeah. So yeah.
When did you fall in love with music? What was your first favorite song that you remember?
My first favorite song was Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis Presley. And it was because my grandparents used to listen to a lot of Elvis Presley when I was younger. And I used to spend a lot of time at theirs because my parents were divorced. So they had to work a lot in order to make ends meet. So it was at theirs that I was introduced to Elvis Presley, and also at my other grandparents where I started playing the piano. And so yeah, my grandparents are a big part in my music life. But Elvis Presley, man, I love him.
He was one of the founding fathers, it's
yes.
Goes back to a lot of that. Now your story, man, is one that a lot of us can relate to. You were bullied when you were younger. How did you deal with it? How did it shape you? How did it shape your music? How did it shape the person you are today?
Well, kind of the bullying kind of shaped me in total, like as a person, but also as a musician, because when I was younger, I had this keyboard in my room. So every time I came home from all that negativity at school, I took it with me home, and I at first I didn't know what to do with it, and I just didn't really, I wasn't happy at all, and I was just very silent, quiet, spent a lot of time in my room. And then I thought, let's just start playing this piano. And that's when I started entering this trance kind of world of, because when you play the piano, you can kind of get lost in it. And that's when things started to feel more light and more happy in my life. And I think music was my way out of all that negativity that I got when I was younger. So that's when I fell in love with music.
Man, what a blessing, huh? Do you think that your experiences have helped fans maybe going through something similar kind of relate deeper to your music and to you as an artist?
I hope so, because it's so important to seek for those things that make you feel comfortable, especially when you're getting bullied, because you're already going through a hard time every single day, because school as a kid is everything. You have to go to it every single day. So it's hard when that place is not safe and it doesn't feel safe. So I hope when they listen to my music, they can kind of think like, if this dude from the Netherlands can do it and he can dream big and he can overcome his fears, then I can do it too. And yeah, hopefully that resonates through my music.
That's awesome, man. What would you tell kids right now who are being bullied and they're just like scared to be their true, authentic selves? What advice would you give them?
The most important thing is take your time. Don't think that the world can be changed overnight, because it can't. You have to take your time and you have to focus on those things that are positive in your life. What I did is I made myself partly the victim constantly by focusing on what my bullies were saying and standing in front of the mirror and saying like, oh, my bullies are saying this, so I have to change this, or I have to walk like this or talk like this. And eventually I found people around me, and even if it's family, even if it's your cousin or your brother, or just focus on those people that love you for who you are, because there are always somewhere people who will love you for who you are. Focus on them, and then the world slowly will get better and better. And find that one thing that you love doing, like
Yes.
making music, gardening, I don't care, but do it, and do it with all your heart and all your passion.
Man, that is amazing advice. So you were on The Voice Holland. You won Eurovision Song Contest in
Yeah.
2019. How did those things change your life before all that happened, before the TV, before the exposure versus now?
Well, The Voice of Holland was kind of an adventure of its own, but it made me, it introduced me to the person who introduced me to Eurovision. So it was a very big piece of the puzzle in the end, when looking back on doing Eurovision. The Voice of Holland was cool, but I basically participated because I wanted to get to know people. And I was like, this is the perfect spot for me to get to know people in the music industry. So I did, and it helped because years later, I was introduced by my voice coach, Ilse de Lange, to the committee who decides who goes to Eurovision for the Netherlands with my song Arcade. And that's how it all came together. And that's how I went to Eurovision and we won. And Ilse is still a big part of my career, my music career, and my life. She's a great, big friend of mine. And she's just, she's my A&R. And that's so crazy that that one moment of pushing that red button and the chair that flips has resulted into all of this.
Changed your life forever. Does everybody know you in the Netherlands? Like when you go to the grocery store, is everyone like, ah, that's
Yeah.
Duncan Laurence?
Yeah, it's selfies with tomatoes, but like in the background, and every single day. Yeah,
I love it, man.
I
What
think
would you
there
be
are.
doing right now? What would you be doing right now if you were not an artist? If you couldn't like live your dream and record
Um,
music, what would you be doing?
I think if I wasn't a singer, I would have been playing like piano or producing or whatever. If I wasn't that, I think I might have done something with languages, because I always loved languages. And I think I would have been like a writer, or like partly a writer, but also just a linguistic person. How do you call that? Linguistic? I loved, like, I loved Latin and ancient Greek when I was younger. So I studied that in my high school. And I fell in love with mythology and just that ancient world. That's so intriguing. So yeah, probably something with that.
That's crazy, man. That's awesome. How has this pandemic changed your life? How you are as an artist, how you work, how you create? Like, because things like the last over a year, man, it's been different life for all of us, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, everything completely changed, of course, because
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're locked inside of these four walls, and you're like, okay, I have to still kind of release things and kind of go on with everything in my life, but at the same time, I have to do it from hear from these. But at the same time, I was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter, because when I was young, I was doing exactly the same. I was sitting in my room for days and days and days creating music. So that's basically what I did. I kind of went back to my old me, that small town boy. And I also started producing, spending my time on producing more and more. And yeah, it's been crazy, but it's also been very useful, the time that I had, you know, had to spend into producing, finishing my album, new releases, and currently I'm working on new music as well. So it's kind of nice too, to kind of relax and have a bigger and a better overview of what you're doing as an artist, because
I
sometimes you get
love
a
it,
little
man.
lost when you're on tour.
Yeah, we can't wait to hear what's coming up. I'm sorry, my house phone was ringing. Do you guys have
No
robocalls?
worries.
Do you have robocalls in Holland? People that call you about car warranties and stuff like that?
We do, and they're horrible. And we have this new register where you can like fill in, and then they won't call you ever again, which is great. But
That's the
yeah,
worst. They call me all
but hey,
day.
this is what we're dealing with. We were talking about lockdown. This is a
Right.
perfect example.
So, man, congratulations. You're engaged. Your fiance, Jordan. How is your wedding planning going? Is everything going smooth? Are you guys waiting till the pandemic's over for the wedding, or?
It's kind of the same as
Gotcha.
writing songs and releasing it and then having a tour. Like, a tour is impossible, but you can release things. It's kind of the same like that. We're planning, but we can't really do it yet because
Gotcha.
of the lockdown and everything. And also because Jordan is from the States. So we would love to have either his family here or my family over there. Yeah, so we have to wait a little bit, but the plans are there. It's just, we have to get, we have to get out of this lockdown before we can actually do them.
That's awesome, man. That's, again, congratulations. So can we ask some
Thank
questions from
you.
our listeners?
Yes,
Christy in
sure.
Citrus Heights wants to know, what is your biggest guilty pleasure?
My biggest guilty pleasure, like music wise or just in general?
It just says biggest guilty pleasure, so I guess in general.
My biggest guilty pleasure would be, let me see, I'm gonna flip it to the music side. I love, do you know that Miley Cyrus once did this episode of Black Mirror?
No, I've
Do
never
you know?
seen it.
Oh, yeah, it's really funny. And then she played kind of a character, Ashley O, and she has this song, "Hey, I'm a hoe, na na na," and I think that's my favorite guilty pleasure in the world. I love that song, and you can so hear that it's written just for that show, and that it's not, yeah, well, not like Miley is normally, but I still love it. Ashley O, that's my guilty pleasure.
There you go, Christy in Citrus Heights. Jonathan in Sacramento wants to know, what's something that most people don't know about you, Duncan?
I have a motoric disorder in my right hand. I can't move my right hand properly. This is my left hand. My right hand is really hard to move. So yeah, piano, guitar, all those things are kind of hard to play for me, but still I do it, and I find great pleasure in it.
That's awesome. Maria
Yeah,
in Fosterville, Maria wants to know, who do you want to duet with the most? I guess this is like, who would you love to collaborate with question.
Noah Cyrus.
Really?
Yeah, I love her. I think she's amazing. Other options would be like Zoe Ways, which is an artist from Germany who is really, really, getting big right now. She's amazing. What are other artists? There's a lot of artists: Troye Sivan, Sam Smith. The list goes on and on. But I would also just love to write for people. I would love to one day write a song for Sam Smith, for example. That would be amazing.
That's really good, man. I can hear you and Sam Smith on a record together, because your song, or your voice is it's so powerful, man. And it's so, in the song Arcade, there's times where it's like kind of haunting, and I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
it's killing it, but Sam Smith kind of does the same thing. So to hear it too,
Yes,
those both voices on one track would be amazing.
I
So
think so. Yeah.
yeah, it would be really good. I want to know, man, tell us what your song Arcade's all about.
So I based the song on a story of a friend of mine who passed away when I was younger. Unfortunately, she was a friend of the family, so she was older than me, and she had the love of her life, but they had split up a few years before she passed away. And on the day she passed away, she kept looking out of the room to the door, And all of a sudden we realize she's waiting for him still to return, to come back and to say goodbye, but he never did. So there was a lot of unanswered love in that moment, in that room right there. And I promised myself, like I did with the bullying stuff, how I flipped that into something positive, into a song, I would do that same thing with that unanswered love right there and flip it into a song. Hopefully that one day would be heard by people. And it's amazing to see how many people are hearing it and listening to it, and her story continues, and that's really cool.
Man, so many people are loving it, like it's their jam. What's something a lot of people don't know about that song, about that track?
I think a lot of people don't know that it was my first song ever to be released. It's my first single ever. And I spent a lot of time to find that sound, that haunting, cinematic, poppy sound. And now that I found it, and now that I know that people like that song, I'm going to explore that world more and more and more. So it's very exciting. But it was actually the first song that I've ever released. I wrote it when I was studying at the Rock Academy here. It's a conservatory. So yeah.
We're excited, man, to hear more of that sound, just more of you in general. So keep putting out the new music, Duncan. We'll keep playing it on the radio.
Nice, thank you.
Absolutely, Duncan. What do you want to tell your fans? Absolutely. What do you want to tell your fans here in Sacramento?
Well, everyone, thank you so much for playing Arcade, streaming it, listening to it on the radio, everything, for all the support. And I cannot wait till the borders open up again, until I'm able to visit you guys and hopefully perform it in real life right over there.
We can't wait for that too. The album is called
Me
Small
too.
Town Boy. Arcades all over the radio. Ladies and gentlemen, Duncan Laurence. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you too, man. Thank you so much for doing this interview. I really appreciate it.
Cool, brother. Thank you so much. It's so good to get to talk to you, chat with you, bend your ear. I know a lot of people were interested in, like, you know, like what was going on with you and stuff. So I'm glad to get a little peek into your life. So
amazing. Well, thank you so much for doing it. It's really nice, and I hope to see Sacramento soon someday.
Yeah, we would love to have you here, man. So we've got live events slowly but surely coming. So, you know, to get you down here would be
That's nice. That must be such a relief, actually, to have some light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, yeah. And California is one of the lowest positivity rates right now in America. So
amazing.
We got some good things. Fingers crossed.
Great. Yeah. Indeed. Fingers crossed.
No worries, man. Well, thank you again very much, and have a good day. Okay.
You too. Thank you so much again.
Right. Continue success, bro.